today's topic may not seem immediately relevant to gaming and game development, but I assure you that it is, at least in my case, and probably for you if you have the same problem. It is my noisy mind. I want to talk today about how the way that my mind works while I'm gaming or while I'm doing game development or really any kind of creative skill, how the way that it operates by default impacts those activities, and a small collection of strategies that I've encountered just over the past week that are promising in terms of helping me navigate my mind and have shown me some actual benefits in just a few days that I'm experimenting with them. Maybe it's just the right thing at the right time for me. Maybe it's other factors. You never really know. But I thought it would be worth sharing and it would be interesting just to discuss. This is Game, Develop, Repeat. I'm your host, Chris, and as always, thank you for joining me. One of my favorite things about playing video games is their ability to focus my mind, to lock me into something and to put me into a sort of a flow state. I really enjoy that sensation, and I get another version of that sensation when I am learning something, when I am solving a difficult puzzle, when I'm just flowing in day to day life. But I've noticed that there are times when I'm gaming where I get distracted. I get pulled out of it in the same way that you get pulled out when reading a book. Now, that's pretty interesting that that can happen in a game at all because games are so immersive. But even in a very good game, there are times when I get completely pulled out of the flow and stuck in my head, just like I didn't quite finish the book example. When you read a paragraph over and over and over and it never quite sticks, that happens to me with games on occasion. Especially, now this is the angle that I'm really interested in, challenging games. Games where you are trying to get better, trying to improve, and that is a big part of the enjoyment. When I was a kid, I played a lot, and I mean a lot, of Warcraft 3. I really enjoyed Warcraft 3. I got decent at it, but there was always something missing in the way that I played it. I could tell that the way I was improving wasn't quite right. There was some method, some tactic for learning that would pay off more. I could tell I was being inefficient, and I never really figured that out. But in that process of getting frustrated by the fact that I couldn't really tell how to move forward, how to improve, I would stop focusing on what I was doing, which would make it even harder to improve. You may have experienced this when playing a very difficult fighting game, when playing Dark Souls or Elden Ring, or something like Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. That experience of being so unbelievably frustrated that you cannot actually focus on what you're doing, and the more you try, the worse you get. This also just this tragically happens all the time. Trying hard makes it worse, especially in things like social situations. This is a very common thing from what I understand, or at least it's talked about very commonly and portrayed commonly in media. And I think a large part of this is how noisy your mind gets. Now, here is what I've got. Here's what I've run into this week. One thing I ran into was from a author named David Epstein. No relation, don't worry. David Epstein, who has written a few different books about successful people, breakout successes, and I believe his more well-known book was called Range. But anyway, he had a YouTube video promoting an idea that's in his most recent book. I don't remember the name of the book. I don't really remember the name of the video. But the summary of this video was essentially, in order to improve at something, you need to focus on whatever your bottleneck is. How does this relate to the noisy mind thing? I'm getting to it. Trust me, we're getting there. Sorry, I'm being impatient with myself. It's a method of filtering out the noise. That's the relationship. Your mind is looking at every single factor holding you back from beating that boss, every single thing that is making it more difficult for you to learn that skill. And if you can look at it instead as, what is the thing I am worst at that is holding me back the most? I'm going to improve that and only that, because all of my other efforts mean nothing as long as that thing is still holding me back. Or maybe they mean something, but you're going to be so dramatically held back by this one skill that you're doomed. So you figure out your bottleneck and you take care of it. At first, this didn't seem related to the noisy mind thing. I was already dealing with other noisy mind stuff, but then I applied it to a video game. I applied it to Darktide because I was like having trouble finding the fun and the challenge and engaging in the combat in a meaningful way. So I tried a more difficult class that dies more easily, and I saw what was getting me killed, and I went, okay, the one thing that I'm doing that I can tell is causing a big problem is I'm dodging way too much, running out of dodge charges, and getting cornered and dying. So I'm just going to focus on that. I'm only going to dodge when I need to, when something is actively attacking me. I'm not going to use my dodge as a movement skill. Didn't really pay attention to anything else going on. Suddenly, I'm more engaged in the combat. I'm having more fun, and I'm learning a little bit more about the game, which enables me to have more fun later when I take on other challenges. I'm still figuring out my bottlenecks in game development. I have a couple theories, but we'll get into that. Here is the other part of this whole noisy mind thing. Actually, one more note on the bottleneck. The part of this that was so useful to me was the framing of, in any activity, in any skill, in any process, there is only one bottleneck that matters. The framing is not, oh, you have a bunch of bottlenecks, fix all the bottlenecks, figure out where things slow down, blah, blah, blah. No, it is, you are on a highway, there is one spot that is creating traffic, you got to take care of that spot. Sure, it's probably more complicated than that in my mind, but I like that framing. That locks me in, that focuses me, that filters out all the noise and lets me get quick feedback on the things that I'm trying to learn. And I think this is what was making Warcraft 3 so difficult to learn all those years ago. I was focused on everything. My mind was going, we can handle all this, we can learn all this information, grasp everything. And I just couldn't. You got to do one thing at a time. You got to figure out what's holding you back the most. Take care of that. Do it again until you get better. Well, you'll be getting better the whole time, but you get my point. Now, next noisy mind thing. This is also about filtering noise. I ran into another thing about journaling. It was a random suggested YouTube video from a small channel. It was called the Grail method, I think. It was a method for journaling, which led me down a rabbit hole of other videos that were about journaling, and I have some pocket journals, and here's what I ended up doing. This is basically the suggested method by a couple people. Take a journal, pocket journal, carry it with you everywhere you go, keep it in your pocket. All the ideas that you have, all the things that pop in your head, not to-do lists, but just creative ideas, inspirations, curiosities, whatever, just write them down. This is the big part for me. review it instead of looking at your phone. Whenever you feel like scrolling, looking at Reddit, going to YouTube, whatever, at least some of that time, pull out your pocket journal and look over your ideas. This is huge for me. This is, oh, I thought about that earlier and it went away, so I guess I don't need to fixate on all of these ideas. That one's not actually that interesting, whatever, it's fine. This other one, still very interesting. I don't have to worry about losing ideas. I don't have to worry about assessing ideas until later. That's so good because otherwise, I'm constantly having ideas pop into my head, and then I am relentlessly assessing them, and throughout the whole day, sort of passively on a very low level, kind of like quietly in the back of my mind, trying to hang on to ideas, trying to not forget this. And it's not that I'm going, I can't forget that. It's that I'm going, oh, we need to like assess that more at some point, or we need to come back to that, or we need to just see what we want to do about that. Nope, I've got it written down in a journal, and I check that journal every once in a while, and it reminds me of things. It also is vaguely helpful for emotional processing, not as like a full journaling experience, but just as like a, oh, I'm that's how my mood has been going throughout the day. That's interesting. Just like little notes about what's been going on and how it's affecting me and how I'm relating to it. That's very nice too. It's a lot of clarity. And the final bit, oh, I'm sorry, hold on. That's helping me with gaming a little bit too, because it clears out this noise in my brain. And then whenever I'm playing a video game, I'm not thinking I should be assessing this idea. I should be thinking about this or that or the other. No, I can just be present and I can actually enjoy the game. At least I think that it's helping me with gaming. It might not be helping at all. I might just believe that because right now it feels like a magic pill because it helped so much in a couple different ways. So those, again, might not immediately seem relevant to gaming, but it helps with both skill development in games, which I think is worth pursuing in a fun way. I really think that games are meant to be a little bit challenging when you want them to. Every once in a while, when you don't want them to, you got to surprise somebody with a challenge sometimes. But I really think that that challenge is a training ground. I think that it's a good thing for us. I think that's part of the reason why we find it fun. And I think all of this, all of these techniques of writing down your thoughts in a little journal that you keep with you all the time, that is not on a screen, that will not pull you out of your brain. It's like a little Wikipedia for your own brain. It's your own personal Twitter feed of your own thoughts and inspirations with no exterior pollution. You can put down interesting ideas, interesting quotes, whatever, but it's all you. It's really nice. The combination of that and the man, now I've gotten so invested in the journal, I've basically forgotten what my first point was. That's incredible. The journal really is the one that has been standing out to me in such a big way. Oh, the first part was the bottlenecks. The combination of the journal and the bottleneck thing is really focusing. It's very clarifying. And when I say focus for the bottleneck thing, this is one other note that I had, and this will lead us into the development conversation. Focus to me has always felt almost um, like a heavy lift, like cognitively. The word focus has always meant to me one of its definitions, I guess, which is like to lock in on one thing and mute everything else. But somehow the whole bottleneck conversation and the video I watched about it showed me another definition that I wasn't using in this context, which is just what are you looking at? You know, it's not focusing on this one thing single-mindedly. It's just what are you looking at any given moment, and repeatedly bringing yourself back to your own ideas, your own inspirations, your own thoughts through that journal can make you go, oh, this is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm interested in looking at. The other thing, that's cool, but I don't really want to look at that. And then you get to focus in the calmer way without bearing down and without distracting yourself through unnecessary effort. It should feel natural, ideally. And now, let's talk about how all of this connects back to developing games. This is where things begin to get a little bit less concrete because I have yet to fully sort out exactly how I am going to implement this this strategy. I've been journaling video game ideas throughout the day, doing little sketches, doing little clarifying things, and that has been very nice. This is a classic technique. Everybody talks about writing down ideas before they leave you. This is just a reframe for me personally, which was you're not writing ideas down before they disappear. You're writing ideas down so that you can think clearly. I can't juggle as many thoughts in my head as I would like to. My brain will generate a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas and relentless streams of consciousness. It will go and go and go and think about things and have fun thinking about things, frankly. But if I write them down, then I can actually navigate them. I can check back in with them and I can explore them in different directions. And when I'm coming up with a game design idea, I have a tendency to go in so many different directions simultaneously in my head. And I have had one instance now where I was using my little pocket journal and I wrote down 3 different options for how to design an idea. And I ended up on one of them and going, oh, that one's just better for what I want. And that was interesting for me because I have a lot of indecision around game design. And I've done a couple things with this. One, I've just been writing it down more. Two, I've been removing question marks from my notes. That may not immediately connect because you haven't seen my notes, but I'm always writing everything as a question. And I just thought, instead of saying, do I want bow and arrow? Do I want swords? Do I want jumping? Do I want this? Do I want that? Do I want the other? Instead, I will propose an idea as a statement. And that is not concrete. It's cool. It's just that idea exists. And then this other idea exists. I don't add the question mark at the end. There's just something about me always adding the question mark that leaves the idea floating. There is no concrete idea to compare with another. There's just a whole bunch of questions. And a whole bunch of questions are a lot harder to assess than a whole bunch of statements that you are comparing with each other. Now, a question is a beautiful thing. A question is an extremely helpful thing. I'm trying to get clearer on when something is and isn't a question in terms of my own creative process, right? There's this option, that option. Which one do I want to pick? Cool, great question. But the questions, do I want swords? Do I want this? Do I want that? All of these, it gets more and more complicated the more of them that I have, and I need to write them down to help me process that and to help me determine whether or not it is a question or if it's a working theory, a rough draft. Now, the bottleneck idea is the part that I am fascinated by right now. I am trying to find the bottleneck in my game development process because there is definitely a big one. There's something that happens where I will come up with an idea, I will draft it, I will have like a basic idea of what I'm trying to make, and then I'll go into Godot and I'll make the very basics, and then I hit a point where I go, what's next? What do I want here? Oh, do I want this? Do I want that? Do I want to keep expanding in this direction? Start putting graphics on it? I mean, it's too early for graphics, but what gameplay mechanics do I want to add in? Or I'm going, how do I put in the mechanic that I want to put in here? Maybe it's just too big of an idea for me right now. One way or another, I hit this point pretty early on, and then I either get distracted or pivot. My hope is that keeping a journal with these game dev ideas will keep me coming back to the same ideas and adjusting them, or will lead me to find a process to work through whatever specific process problem is causing this point, this pivot point where I go to a different project or abandon a project entirely. I'm suspicious of this feeling. I think, and I'm gonna pull out my notes right now. I think that what it actually is clear scope for a rough draft. I think that I have two problems. I think one of these is probably the bottleneck to focus on. One is I have trouble breaking down big game design ideas into small, actionable steps. And the other one is I have trouble creating a clear scope for a draft. So I'll like start a draft and it's in this vague space of, is this a draft? Am I just playing with this idea? Or is this in fact the final product file? And I'm just like, we're not throwing this away. We're not redoing this. We are taking this and we're running with it the whole way through. Everything you do now is permanent, whatever, right? There's no clear, defined, this is how far I'm going before I reassess. That might be nice to have. I remember when I made Soot, I did have a large post-it note on my wall that said exactly what I wanted out of it. I said, I want this many levels. I want this difference in size on the levels. I want these mechanics. I had some optional things that I got rid of, but it was very limited. And that was extremely clarifying. And my thought is, I want to remove some more noise because it's too noisy in here. And I want to go, okay, we're not worried about the big picture. We're not worried about the future of this project. We are focused on this draft. And this draft is going to be very small. It's going to be a proof of concept. It's going to be what's fun about this. And then we're going to move to another, and so on and so on. I think maybe that's the answer. I think maybe that's what I can take out of this whole bottleneck idea into my game design process. And maybe you're thinking about this and going, can I apply this to myself? Is there a bottleneck in my process? What does that look like? I would recommend writing it down, not just doing it in your head, because I did find subtle distinctions when I wrote through my process, and I found some subtle distinctions. I found kind of a breaking point. I went, oh yeah, there is a pattern here. I keep doing kind of the same thing. Isn't that weird? And I'm excited about exploring these ideas. And I'm hopeful. I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling excited. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next. Here's one final thing for you before I go. I started reading a book that I got a while back I think for my birthday, probably, maybe Christmas, I'm not sure. probably Christmas. I think it's been sitting on my shelf for embarrassingly long time, but I got a book called Designing Games by some guy. I don't know who he is, right? That's how I'm thinking about it. I look at it, I go, I don't know. I'm not going to look into the author. It's a book about game design. Supposedly it's good, whatever. At some point, I may have known who the author is. I start reading this book. I'm like 10 pages in and I'm going, oh, this is good. This guy is very clearly stating ideas that I've had about fun and about enjoying games that I've not been able to put into words, and he has a crystal clear understanding of it. He's pulling some scientific research for it about human psychology. This guy is good. I keep going on, and I'm like, this is amazing. He's discussing the fact that all games are not fun. He's discussing the fact that games have to have a genuine human emotional investment in them, and just breaking it down in a beautiful way. And I go, man, I gotta look into who is this author? Who is this? Is this? I gotta figure this out. It's the creator of RimWorld. It's the guy who founded the studio that made RimWorld. He he's really good, man. This guy knows his stuff. I'm like 20 pages into this book. I've been taking notes in a separate book of just like huge takeaways and things that I find really important. It's really well formatted. It's just beautifully done. It's called Designing Games by Tynan Sylvester, Tynan. Let me grab a quote from it, from something that I've written down. Here's two that I like. Let's go with this. Detecting and understanding subtle emotions is a designer skill. And this is building on the idea that, that was the end of the quote, is a designer skill. This is building on the idea that games have to provoke emotions. And he's talking about that and saying that they don't have to be extreme emotions. They can be extremely subtle and they happen all the time. And I highly recommend this book. I can't really say that. I'm maybe 20 pages in. What page am I on? Yeah, I'm on page 21 because I'm taking notes, I'm copying things, I'm writing my own reactions to things, and it's just so densely packed with information, at least in the first little bit. I look forward to getting further with it, but I am going to take my time and digest it. So that's my recommendation. Check out Designing Games by Tynan Sylvester. Good God. His philosophy aligns with mine very strongly so far. And if I disagree with anything, I start journaling about it. I start going, I'm not 100% sure that I agree with what he said here. What about this case? And then the first time that I did that, I kind of came back around on it and went, ooh, no, I think he's just straight up. I think he's like pretty much right. And the part where I thought he wasn't right was just me misinterpreting what he was saying. I think, it's reading. There's a lot of interpretation going on. But there's my repeat for this week. We've kind of gotten far away from the theme of repeat. Initially, when I started this podcast, it was like, what are some repeatable behaviors or things that keep you going in game development? Well, today was almost entirely about that stuff. Keeping a pocket journal, reading game design books, and taking notes about them, and learning to focus in on the way you learn, not in the like bear down and grit your teeth way that I tend to do, but just in the, oh yeah, let's focus on the thing that's holding us back the most. That seems like a good way to do this. And that's what I have for you this week. I have to mention something. I have mentioned this on the Discord, but y'all should check this out. I did a interview thing, a game dev chat with one of the community members, named Brandon G. You can check that chat out. It is posted in the Discord. I believe he called it Dev Talk. Let me see if this works. If I just search Dev Talk, Anxious Buddha Games, or Brandon G on YouTube. Let's see. Yeah, it is. His channel is Brandon G, and the YouTube video is called Game Dev Talk #1 with Anxious Buddha Games and Brandon G. It's an hour of us chatting. So if there's a day where you're like, I kind of want another episode of the podcast, check that out. It was a really good time. Brandon is working on a cool game where you're a floating mask. It kind of has I don't want to put him into this category because he seems surprised by it all the time, but it kind of has a Dark Souls aesthetic thing going on. It's cool. I think there's a demo out there, but check out his video, check out his channel. I'm sure he's got links there, or hop into the Discord and talk to him because he's in our Discord. As always, you can reach out to me at anxiousbuddhagames@gmail.com. That's how he got in touch with me. It was either that or the Discord for his project. If you've got a cool project you're working on that is something we can genuinely help you out with, and is not just like a shameless promotion thing, because people do email me that way every once in a while. Usually people who I don't think are actually listening to the podcast, because it's usually like a HR firm. Yeah, reach out. Say hey. Say what's up. It's cool. And then I didn't really give you a question this week, but I don't know. What are you doing? What do you think a bottleneck is for you right now in some part of your life? Doesn't even have to be game dev, but that's kind of my focus. So yeah, you know what? Let's get rid of some of the noise. What do you think a big bottleneck is for you right now in game dev? Don't worry about the rest of your life. Who cares about life, real life, whatever. Game dev for now, for these 10 minutes after you close out of this episode. Think through some game dev stuff. It's cool. You can take 10 minutes. Probably. I bet you can. Nothing's going to burn down. You got time. You can breathe. You can take a second and just look at the things you love doing and spend a little time with them. All right. That is everything that I have for you this episode. Yeah. That's all. Until next time, get out there, make some stuff, and have